Hi everyone, my name is Sahana and I work on the scientific research and content creation for WILD.AI. We've heard the saying go around a lot: the menopausal athlete is the forgotten athlete. And we at WILD.AI decided to change that. We've recently introduced a perimenopause and menopause function in the WILD.AI app, which provides training, nutrition, and recovery recommendations, along with check-ins to track and manage your symptoms. To do this, we went in depth into the topic to establish the best way to help menopausal athletes with a lot of guidance from Dr. Stacy Sims, a world leader and expert in female athlete physiology. Today, we'd like to touch on different aspects of training and nutrition and recovery to consider when transitioning into menopause and also post-menopause. And we've got Helene here, the founder and CEO of WILD.AI, and also Stacy to tell us more about this. Hi, both.
Hey.
Hannah.
Great. Okay, so let's start off with you, Helene, and your vision for WILD.AI when it comes to menopausal athletes that actually drove you to create this kind of function in the app.
Yeah, so like our mission at WILD.AI is to create a product helping all women of all ages, life stages, and ethnicity. And if women were ignored in the medical and research worlds, menopausal and perimenopausal women were probably even worse. They call themselves the forgotten athletes, and so it's really part of my mission to like just serve them as well. So it was a natural transition and like the next step of like who should we serve, and there's a huge demand from them as well because it's a population that is like really active. All this transitional time is in women's lives, so like postpartum, post illness, or like when they transition into that life where they have suddenly irregular cycles and symptoms, like this 10-year window of perimenopause and then menopause. They really want to get back ownership of their bodies and their lives. So they're reactive, really seek solutions. And basically today, they don't have anything really that is serving them. So that's why for us, it was really important to serve them, and we wanted to build something for them so they can gain insights about their bodies and how they can adapt the training to help them. Yeah, because currently there's basically nothing out there.
Wow. Okay, that's a really amazing kind of vision you have there, and yeah, I'm also so excited to roll this out to all our menopausal athletes. And speaking of which, I'll come to you, Stacy, and we can perhaps talk a little bit about what actually happens when we transition into menopause and beyond, and how that begins to affect our training. And if you can tell us a little bit about, the kind of physiology that runs along going into menopause.
Yeah, so we talk about perimenopause being the menopausal transition, and we usually say that about the 4 or 5 years before your period stops completely, this is where you feel the effects the most, because estrogen, ironically, is going up and progesterone isn't being produced as much. So the way that these hormones affect us is we start to put on more belly fat. We don't have a stimulus for lean mass development. We start getting slower. We start getting weaker. Our training isn't working for us so much. We're not able to adapt as quickly. And so I get all these questions from women who are in this state going, what's going on? How do I change this? And so when we're looking at what's happening, most of the body composition changes that happen that we associate with menopause start to happen in those 4 to 5 years before your periods stop. And then after that, when you get into postmenopause, it's more age-related changes. So we have the opportunity to really affect our body composition, our neuromuscular firing. If we change our training in these later stages, our late 40s, early 50s, we start getting some of these symptoms where we want to do more high intensity, and we want to make sure that we do protein dosing accordingly because we want to have an anabolic stimulus for lean mass development. But now we need to use exercise and nutrition more so than relying on our hormones to do it. And to be able to help with, as we get into that menopausal state, being able to have more lean mass, more bone density, more neuromuscular firing for power and, like that explosive movement that we definitely lose with age and with menopause. So you start developing it in the perimenopausal and carry it through. So it's not necessarily the prevention, it's working with it and changing the way that we are looking at training and the way that we are looking at nutrition, again, to work with our physiology. Because I mean, like an iconic picture would be women who are younger looking really strong and fit, and then they hit 50 and now all of a sudden they have like the Dowager's hump and looking really old and aged and frail. And that's how a lot of society perceives menopause, and that's not what we're about, right? So all of us, with Helene's vision and all of us working together, is we want to empower women to be strong and fit and have good body composition and maintain that, and having the baseline understanding of how hormones affect everything when you're premenopause, and how it affects when these hormones flatline, and what you need to do to change to maintain that performance potential. I'm really excited that it's launching as well, because we know from research what we can do, and how all these things aren't being addressed. Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yes, going the research myself, like it's just been an amazing, like fascinating experience with what you can actually change and do to maintain, your body composition, as you say. And yeah, it's an amazing thing that we just haven't tapped into enough.
yeah.
And just going into more specifics around fueling, you mentioned that we need to start doing more strength training, more high intensity training. And in terms of fueling for that type of training and recovering better from those sessions, are there key like nutritional recommendations as well?
Yeah, so when we start losing estrogen and progesterone, and we start having more free fatty acid use, we lose the carbohydrate availability for the most part. So if we're going to fuel for an endurance workout, we need to eat carbohydrate in and around the training session, because we've lost a lot of the ability to store it. And if you're trying to eat more throughout the day, you have an insulin response that stimulates more visceral fat. So it's eating carbohydrate in and around the training. Also, if we're looking at resistance training to develop lean mass, and the high intensity work for blood glucose and body composition control, we need to have a high protein dosage within a recovery window, so that we get the lean mass stimulus and muscle protein stimulus that we usually would get from estrogen. We need to now get it from that intense load from exercise and a high protein dose right afterwards, to be able to build that lean mass and get that neuromuscular activity going.
Great. Okay. Thanks. And coming back to you, Helen, let's finally talk about WILD.AI itself as an app, and how it can help menopausal athletes in their day-to-day training as what we've built for them. If you can just talk us through a little bit about how the app has developed to kind of help these athletes as well, that would be great.
Yeah, so I mean, we've done the research on like what is happening in perimenopause, menopause, and then we basically, women in the app, through the app, are able to track their symptoms in like as they are experimenting those. From there, and based on the research, we provide recommendations and guidelines on when you should include strength training, which is really key for these women, and high intensity sessions in the week, based on your level, your experience, and based on your symptoms. And from there as well, so you have the trainings, the recovery and nutritional advice based on the intensity and duration of your session, and also insights on why those dietary changes are important in managing your menopausal symptoms. So it's like there's an educational piece, and there's a day-to-day, basically, step-by-step recommendations on what to do and why you're doing that as well. So.
Okay, awesome. Thanks both. This has been great, really informative session about exactly what we've built. And if you are a perimenopause or menopausal athlete out there, please sign up to WILD.AI, and we can help you train better, track better, and hopefully you'll enjoy the experience of changing things naturally as you age. This is something that as women we've always wanted to build. So yeah, any questions, just email us at support@WILD.AI, and we'll be able to answer any questions you've got. Thanks.
Thanks, Anna. Thanks, Stacy.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.